Welcome back, everybody. Today we're diving deep into a career that a lot of people start with, and that's quick service restaurant crew member. We're going to go way beyond your usual job hunting tips you see out there, and look at the skills and what hiring managers are really looking for. And of course, we'll give you some killer answers to some of those tough interview questions to help you absolutely crush it. Now, this deep dive is based on RoleCatcher's career and interview guides, and these guides are packed with insights about the skills, the questions, and how AI can help you really stand out. So let's get started.
Yeah, let's dive in.
So you're applying to be a quick service restaurant crew member, which means you already know the basics, right? Taking orders, preparing food, serving those hungry customers, and of course, keeping the place sparkling clean. But how do you think technology is changing the skills needed for this job?
I think that's a great question. And I think tech is completely changing the restaurant game. Think about it. Mobile ordering, self-service kiosks, even those tablets you see at tables for ordering and paying. So, yeah, you still got to be fast and organized, but these days, being tech savvy is just as important.
That's a great point. Now, let's say you're prepping for your interview and they hit you with the classic. Can you tell us about your previous experience working in a quick service restaurant? That one's got to be a common one, especially for entry-level folks.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a super common question, and it can feel like a trick question if you've never actually worked in a QSR before. But here's the thing. Almost every job you've ever had has transferable skills, right? Think about it. You've probably handled customers before, maybe worked on a team, or had to multitask when things got crazy busy.
And those are all valuable skills, especially in a restaurant.
Exactly. Those are pure gold in a fast-paced environment like that.
So instead of saying, well, I haven't worked in a QSR bed,
Yeah.
what's a better way to answer that question?
Reframe it. Like, even though my experience has been in mention your previous job, I've developed skills that are a perfect fit for this role, for example, and then boom, hit them with a story. Like that time you handled a crazy rush at the coffee shop, kept smiling, and still managed to get every order out perfectly. Show them you can handle the heat.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Okay, here's another one. How do you handle cash and card transactions? Seems pretty basic, but what are they really getting at with that question?
It's about more than just making change or swiping a card. They're looking for accuracy, attention to detail, honesty. These days, restaurants use all kinds of systems, POS systems, mobile payments, gift cards. It can get pretty complicated.
Yeah, it's not just cash in the register anymore.
Nope, not at all. So highlight your experience with different systems, and really emphasize that you're careful, accurate, and always follow procedures.
So even if you're just starting out, mentioning that you're comfortable with tech and that you're careful with money can really make a difference.
For sure. And you know what? This is where RoleCatcher's AI can be a real game changer. It looks up those job descriptions and finds the keywords the hiring manager is looking for. So if they mention specific POS systems or payment types, weave those into your answer.
Okay, that's smart. Tailoring your response is key. Now for a tougher one. Can you tell us about a time when you provided exceptional customer service? Everyone says they're good at customer service, so how do you actually stand out?
That's where storytelling comes in. Anyone can say, I'm a people person, but to really stand out, you need a specific example. A time you went above and beyond. Did you calm down a frustrated customer, maybe help someone with a special need, or even just remembered a regular's order? Make it specific, memorable.
Ah, and this is where the STAR method comes in handy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Situation, task, action, result.
Mm-hmm.
You give them a clear picture of what happened.
Yeah, exactly. And don't be afraid to let your personality shine through a bit. QSRs thrive on positive energy, so let your enthusiasm show.
I love it. So let's say you've aced those entry-level questions and you're moving up the ladder, maybe aiming for a more senior role. What kind of questions should someone with more experience expect?
Well, at that level, the interviewer is going to dig deeper into things like leadership and problem-solving skills. Like one you'll probably hear is, how do you handle difficult customers? We all know they exist.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's had to deal with a difficult customer at some point. It's easy to say, I stay calm and professional. But what does that look like in a crazy busy QSR?
That's where you got to use the STAR method again, but this time your story needs to really shine. You got to share an example of a time when you de-escalated a situation, found a compromise, or even managed to turn a negative experience into a positive one. Like, what if you had a customer who is really unhappy with their food? Instead of getting defensive, you listened to them, apologized sincerely, and then offered a solution that went above and beyond their expectations.
I'm sensing a theme here. Be prepared to tell stories that show off your skills.
You got it. And don't just wing it. Practice those stories beforehand. RoleCatcher's AI can be a huge help here too, you know? You can actually record your answers and get feedback on your delivery, how clear you are, even the content itself. It's basically like having a mock interview with an expert.
That's amazing. It really takes the pressure off. But what if you've never had to deal with a really difficult customer before? What's the best way to answer that, honestly?
Honesty is always the best policy. You could say something like, while I haven't encountered that specific situation yet, I believe in, and then explain your approach. I'd focus on active listening, empathy, and then draw on experiences from other areas of your life where you've had to stay calm and solve problems. Show them you've got the right mindset, even if you haven't faced that exact situation in a QSR.
Okay, I like that approach. Another question that comes up a lot is, how do you handle a rush or a really busy period in the restaurant? That feels like it's pretty much a core part of the job.
Oh yeah, it's all about staying cool under pressure, you know? Prioritizing tasks and working efficiently as a team. Remember all those transferable skills we talked about? They come in handy here too.
So how do you actually show that you can thrive in that kind of chaos?
You paint them a picture, talk about anticipating peak hours, prepping ingredients in advance, making sure you have enough change, communicating clearly with your team. Show them you're proactive and organized, even when things get crazy.
It's like a choreographed dance, keeping everything moving smoothly even when the pressure's on.
Exactly. And here's a little insider tip. If you have any experience with streamlining processes or finding creative ways to make things more efficient, definitely mention that. Maybe you reorganized the condiment station to speed things up or found a way to cut down wait times during a rush, you know?
Those are great ideas. So we've covered some common questions for entry-level and more experienced folks, but before we move on to senior-level questions, I'm curious, where can this job actually lead? Is it just flipping burgers forever, or are there actual career paths within the QSR industry?
Don't underestimate the QSR world. It's a fantastic stepping stone, you know? Starting as a crew member can open doors to becoming a shift supervisor, an assistant manager, even a restaurant manager.
So it's not a dead end, it's a starting point.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the kicker. This isn't just any stepping stone. The whole industry is actually projected to grow by 6% over the next 10 years, so there are going to be even more opportunities in the future.
That's really encouraging to hear. Okay, so back to those interview questions. What kind of questions do you typically see for someone who's aiming for a more senior role, like a management position?
At that level, they're going to be looking for someone who can lead and also handle really tough situations. One common question is, how do you ensure food safety and hygiene in your work area? And it's not just about knowing the rules, it's about setting an example for your entire team.
That makes sense. So what makes a good answer for that one?
Go beyond just reciting the regulations, you know. Anyone can do that. Instead, talk about how you've trained new hires on the proper procedures. Maybe share a time when you spotted a potential hazard and took action before it became a problem. Show them you're proactive about safety, not just reactive.
I love that. Prevention over reaction. That shows real leadership.
Yeah.
All right, what else do those senior level candidates need to be ready for?
They'll probably ask about teamwork and collaboration, something like, can you tell us about a time you worked with a team to achieve a common goal? This is your chance to highlight both your leadership skills and your ability to work well with others.
Yeah, teamwork is absolutely key in a QSR. What kind of story would really impress them?
Think of a time you went above and beyond the usual tasks. Maybe you helped motivate your team during a super busy rush, or you took the initiative to improve a process that was slowing everyone down. And don't forget about the results. Did you achieve the goal? Did you exceed expectations? Be specific and quantify your success.
Solid advice. I'm noticing a pattern here. Specific examples and real results make those answers stand out. Any other questions we should be prepared for?
Let's shift back to another mid-level one that can be a bit tricky. How do you ensure that the restaurant is clean and presentable at all times? Cleanliness is obviously essential in the food service industry, but there's a bit more to this question than just that.
What's the hidden message, the thing they're really looking for?
They want to see initiative, pride in your work, and a real understanding of the big picture. They want to know that you're not just following orders, you're taking ownership of the customer experience.
So how do you showcase that?
Again, paint a picture. Talk about times you went above and beyond routine cleaning. Maybe you noticed a wobbly table and fixed it, or you reorganized the condiment station to make it more customer-friendly. Those little details matter.
That's right. It's all about being proactive and noticing those little things that impact the overall experience. Okay, now for the question we all dread. How do you handle a situation where a customer is unhappy with their food? Let's face it, food complaints are bound to happen in any QSR.
Definitely. And this question really tests your problem-solving skills and your people
Ugh.
skills. They want to see genuine empathy, a desire to make things right, not just someone who's reading from a script.
So how do you answer this one effectively?
Once again, tell a compelling story. Think of a time you really went above and beyond to resolve a food issue. Did you offer a replacement meal, throw in a free dessert, or maybe you just listened patiently to the customer's concerns and offered a sincere apology? Show them that you genuinely care.
It's all about turning that frown upside down. What else is on our list of tricky questions?
Let's hit one more mid-level question. How do you handle a situation where you're working with a difficult coworker? Team dynamics can make or break a QSR, so this is an important one.
Oh, that's a good one. Everyone's worked with someone who's, well, let's just say challenging. How do you answer this without throwing your coworker under the bus?
Focus on the solutions, not the blame. Maybe you had a coworker who was always late or didn't pull their weight. Instead of complaining about them, talk about how you communicated with them, offered to help them get up to speed, or found a way to delegate tasks effectively.
Right. It's all about being a team player and making things work, even when you're dealing with difficult personalities. I think we've covered a lot of great questions today, but before we move on, I want to circle back to something we discussed earlier, how technology is changing the game in the QSR world.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about online ordering anymore. Think about AI systems that track inventory, predict busy periods, even personalize menu suggestions. That's the future of the industry.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
How can people prepare for that kind of future?
Stay curious. Keep up with the latest technology trends in the food service industry. Read industry blogs, attend webinars, follow those tech-focused QSR companies on social media. The more you know, the more adaptable you'll be.
And I bet RoleCatcher's AI can help with that too, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about how it can help people tailor their applications and interview answers to specific jobs?
RoleCatcher is like a secret weapon. So let's say you find a QSR job you really want, right? You plug the job description into RoleCatcher, and its AI analyzes it, pulls out the key skills and keywords the employer is looking for.
That's so cool. So no more guessing what the hiring manager wants to hear.
Exactly. It takes all the guesswork out of tailoring your resume and cover letter. And when you're practicing for your interview, RoleCatcher can actually analyze your responses and give you feedback on everything from your delivery to the content. It's like having a personal coach right there in your pocket.
That's amazing. It sounds like RoleCatcher can give you a real edge in a competitive job market. Okay, we've talked a lot about strategies for acing that interview, but what about after the interview? Any final tips for leaving a lasting impression?
Don't underestimate the power of a thank you note. It's a small thing, but it can really make a difference. Send a short email, within 24 hours of your interview, thanking the interviewer for their time, and reiterate your enthusiasm for the position.
That's a great tip. And it gives you another chance to re-emphasize a key point from the interview or mention something specific you learned about the company that really resonated with you.
Exactly. It shows you were paying attention and that you're genuinely interested in the opportunity. Oh, and one more thing, follow-up. If you haven't heard back within a week or so, it's totally fine to send a polite email checking on the status of your application.
Okay, I'm officially feeling ready to conquer any QSR interview.
Okay.
But before we move on, I want to touch on one last thing. We talked about the traditional career path within the QSR, but with all this new technology emerging, are there any new paths we should be aware of?
That's a great question. The food service industry is evolving so quickly, and with all these changes come exciting new opportunities. One area to keep an eye on is food tech. Think about startups that are developing robots for food preparation, AI-powered ordering systems, even personalized nutrition apps.
Wow, that's a whole new world. So is it possible that someone starting out as a crew member today could end up working in cutting-edge food tech in the future?
Absolutely. It's definitely possible. And even
Yeah.
if you don't end up working directly in food tech, having a good understanding of these trends is going to be a huge advantage in any QSR career.
I'm feeling inspired. Okay, one last question for you. You've seen a lot of candidates come through those doors. What's the one piece of advice you'd give to someone just starting their QSR journey?
Bring your A game and your enthusiasm. QSRs are fast-paced, demanding environments, but they're also full of opportunities to learn and grow. If you show up with a positive attitude, a willingness to learn, and a genuine passion for customer service, you'll go far.
That's fantastic advice. Well, I think we've covered everything from prepping for those tough interview questions to exploring future career paths and even how technology like RoleCatcher can give you an edge. I feel so much more prepared to conquer the world of QSR interviews now.
That's what we like to hear. And remember, this is just the beginning.
That 6% growth is pretty impressive. Okay, so let's get back to those interview questions. What kind of questions do you usually see for people going for those more senior roles, like management positions?
Yeah, so at that level, they really want to see that you can not only lead a team, but also handle those really tough situations. Like one you will probably hear is, how do you ensure food safety and hygiene in your work area?
Mhm.
And it's not just about knowing the rules, it's about being a role model for your whole team.
That makes a lot of sense. What would you say is a good answer for that one?
Go beyond just like listing off the regulations. Anyone can memorize those, right?
Right.
Instead, talk about how you've actually trained new employees on those procedures. Maybe share a time when you saw a potential hazard and you took care of it before it became a problem. Show them that you're proactive about safety, you don't wait for things to go wrong.
I like that. Prevention is always better than reaction, and it shows leadership. What else should senior level candidates be ready for?
You'll probably get questions about teamwork and collaboration. Something like, can you tell us about a time you worked with a team to achieve a common goal? This is your chance to highlight your leadership skills, but also how well you work with others.
Yeah, teamwork is so important in a QSR, for sure. What kind of story do you think would really impress them?
Think of a time when you really went above and beyond just your regular tasks. Maybe you helped motivate your team during a crazy rush, or you saw a process that was slowing everyone down and you took the initiative to improve it. And don't forget to talk about the results. Did you reach the goal? Did you exceed expectations? Quantify your success. Be specific.
That's great advice. It seems like specific examples and concrete results really make those answers pop. Are there any other questions we should be prepared for?
Let's go back to a mid-level one that can be kind of tricky. How do you ensure that the restaurant is clean and presentable at all times? Cleanliness is obviously super important when you're dealing with food, but there's more to this question than meets the eye.
So what's the underlying message? What are they really looking for?
Initiative, pride in your work, and a good understanding of the bigger picture. They want to see that you're not just someone who follows orders, but someone who takes ownership of the customer experience.
Okay, so how do you show them that?
Paint them a picture. Talk about those times you went above and beyond the regular cleaning routine. Maybe you noticed a table was wobbly and you fixed it. Or you rearranged the condiment station to make it easier for customers to use. The little things can make a big difference.
Right. It's all about being proactive and paying attention to those little details that can really impact the customer experience.
Okay, now for the question that I think makes everyone a little nervous. How do you handle a situation where a customer is unhappy with their food? You can't please everyone all the time, and in a QSR, food complaints are just bound to happen.
Yeah, that's true. And this one's all about showing your problem-solving skills and your people skills. They want to see that you have empathy, a genuine desire to make things right, not just someone who's following a script.
So what makes a good answer for this one?
A good story, once again.
Think about a time when you really went above and beyond to solve a food issue. Maybe you offered a replacement meal, throw in a free dessert, or just listen patiently to the customer's concerns and gave them a sincere apology. Show them that you care, that you want to make things right.
It's all about turning that frown upside down. What else is on our list of tricky interview questions?
Let's talk about one more mid-level question. How do you handle a situation where you're working with a difficult coworker? Team dynamics are so important in a fast-paced environment like a QSR, so they'll definitely want to know how you deal with those situations.
Oh, that's a good one. I think we've all worked with someone who was, let's just say, a little challenging. How do you answer this question without making it seem like you're bad-mouthing your coworker?
It's all about focusing on solutions, not on placing blame. So maybe you had a coworker who was constantly late or just wasn't pulling their weight. Instead of complaining about them, talk about how you communicated with them. Maybe you offered to help them get up to speed, or you found a way to delegate tasks more effectively.
Right. It's about being a team player and trying to find ways to make things work, even when you're dealing with difficult personalities. We talk about a lot of great interview questions today, but before we wrap up this section, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier. How technology is changing the QSR landscape.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about online ordering anymore. These days, you've got AI-powered systems that can track inventory, predict those super busy periods, even personalize menu suggestions based on customer data. That's the future of the industry.
That's incredible. It sounds like things are really evolving quickly. How can someone prepare for that kind of future where technology is playing such a big role?
Stay curious.
Okay.
Keep learning about the latest tech trends in the food service industry. Read those industry blogs, attend webinars, follow the companies that are really pushing the boundaries on social media. The more you know, the more adaptable you'll be.
And I bet RoleCatcher's AI can help with that too, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about how it can help people really tailor their applications and their interview answers to specific job roles?
Oh yeah, RoleCatcher is like having a secret weapon in your back pocket. So imagine you find this QSR job that you really, really want. You take that job description and you plug it right into RoleCatcher. Its AI goes to work analyzing it, pulls out those key skills and keywords that the employer is looking for.
That's so cool. So you're saying there's no more guessing games trying to figure out what the hiring manager wants to hear?
Exactly. It takes all the guesswork out of tailoring your resume and cover letter. Plus, when you're practicing for your interview, you can actually record your answers and RoleCatcher will analyze them. It gives you feedback on everything, like your delivery, the content, everything. It's like having a personal interview coach right there in your pocket.
That's amazing. It really sounds like RoleCatcher can give you a serious advantage. Okay, we've covered a lot of strategies for really acing that interview, but what about after the interview? Are there any last-minute tips for leaving a really good final impression?
Never underestimate the power of a simple thank you note. It's a small gesture, but it can make a world of difference. Just send a quick email within 24 hours of your interview. Thank the interviewer for their time and restate your enthusiasm for the position.
That's a great tip. And it gives you another chance to bring up a key point from the interview, or maybe mention something specific you learned about the company that really resonated with you.
Exactly. It shows them that you were paying attention and that you're genuinely interested. Oh, and one more thing, follow up. If you haven't heard anything back after a week or so, it's totally okay to send a polite email checking in on the status of your application.
Okay, I am officially feeling ready to tackle any QSR interview that comes my way. But before we wrap up completely, I want to touch on one last thing. We've talked about the traditional career path, starting as a crew member and working your way up. But with all this new technology popping up, are there any new or emerging career paths that we should be aware of?
You know what? That's a really great question. The food service industry is changing so rapidly, and with that comes a whole bunch of new opportunities. I'd say one area to really keep an eye on is food tech. Think about startups that are developing robots to help with food prep, AI-powered ordering systems, even personalized nutrition apps.
Wow, that sounds like a whole new world. So someone who starts out as a crew member today could potentially end up working on some really cutting-edge food tech in the future.
Absolutely, it's definitely possible. And even if you don't end up working directly in food tech, having a solid understanding of these new technologies is going to be a huge plus for any career in the QSR world.
I'm feeling really inspired. Okay, last question, I promise. You've seen a lot of candidates come and go. What's the one piece of advice you would give to someone just starting out on their QSR journey?
Bring your A game and bring your enthusiasm. QSRs are demanding, fast-paced environments, but they're also full of chances to learn and grow. If you show up with a positive attitude, a willingness to learn, and a genuine passion for customer service, you're gonna go far.
That is fantastic advice. Well, I think we've covered just about everything today, from prepping for those tricky interview questions to exploring all the different career paths out there, and even how AI tools like RoleCatcher can help you stand out from the crowd. I feel so much more prepared to conquer the world of QSR interviews.
I love to hear that. Remember, this is just the beginning.
That 6% growth is amazing to hear. Okay, so we prepped for some tough questions, explored some career paths, and even how AI can give us an edge. What are some final things we can do to just really nail that interview?
All right, well, first off, remember, you're not just applying for ANY QSR job, right? You're applying to a specific place. So do your homework, check out their menu, read some online reviews, look at their social media, get a feel for their vibe, see what people are saying about them.
That's a really good point. Showing that you've done your research definitely makes a good impression.
For sure, it shows you're serious. And then during the interview itself, let your personality shine through. QSRs, they thrive on energy and enthusiasm, so make sure you're smiling, making eye contact, show them that you're excited about this opportunity.
Yeah, a genuine smile can be contagious.
Exactly. Hiring managers want to see that you're going to be a positive addition to their team. And speaking of making a good impression, don't forget to ask some thoughtful questions at the end of the interview.
Ooh, I always get a little nervous about that part. What kind of questions should I be asking?
You want to avoid anything about salary or benefits in the first interview. Instead, focus on showing them that you're curious about the role, the company. Ask about their training program, what kind of opportunities there are for growth. You could even ask the interviewer what they personally enjoy most about working there.
Those are great suggestions. It's all about showing that you're really interested in the opportunity, not just any job.
Exactly. And one final tip I'll give you. After the interview, don't forget to send a thank you note. It doesn't have to be anything long or fancy, just a short email reiterating your enthusiasm and mentioning something specific that you learned during the interview. It just shows that you are paying attention and that you appreciate their time.
That's a great tip. It's such a simple gesture, but it can make a big difference. Well, I think we've covered a ton of ground today, from tackling those tough interview questions to exploring the future of the QSR industry and even how AI can help you along the way. I feel so much more prepared to rock that interview. Any last words of wisdom before we wrap things up?
At the end of the day, the food service industry is all about people. So bring your A game, bring your enthusiasm, and that genuine desire to create a positive experience for both customers and your coworkers. If you do that, you're going to thrive in this industry. It's a dynamic and rewarding field.
That's really inspiring. Thank you so much for joining us today for this deep dive into the world of quick service restaurant crew member interviews. We've learned so much, from essential skills to those really tricky questions, and even how AI can help us along the way.
It's been a pleasure sharing my insights with you.
And to all our listeners out there, remember, with the right preparation and a positive attitude, you can absolutely land that dream QSR job. Until next time, happy job hunting, everyone.